Hello, and today we will be going over notes about inequalities. What is an inequality? Well, an inequality is similar to an equation where you're going to solve for a variable, but here your variable won't necessarily equal a number, but it will be either less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, which reminds us of what are the symbols. The symbols to inequalities are a greater than sign, a less than sign, we have greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to. So I'll write in here greater than or equal to and less than or equal to. Let's practice writing an expression to represent an inequality. So x is less than 5. I would translate this and say x as variable x is less than symbol, 5. So x is less than 5 translates into x, a less than sign, 5. Let's look at the second expression here. The sum of a number and 12. So sum means addition of a number and 12. So the sum of a number, so x plus 12, so the sum of a number, in a number I called x, 12 is just 12, is greater than or equal to. So a greater than or equal to symbol, 25. All right, when we graph inequalities, we have to remember that a less than or greater than symbol represents an open circle on the line, but less than or equal to and greater than or equal to represents a closed circle on the number line, so we'll fill in that circle. Here's a couple important pieces to remember. We need to, when we graph, write 3 numbers on the number line, 0 in the positive and negative in the inequality, make an open or closed circle on the number line in the inequality, and shade in the direction based on reading the inequality. Start with your variable. So let's look over here at x is less than 9 and make sure again you jot down those notes. X is less than 9 means I will write down 0, 9, and negative 9. So again, my 3 numbers on my number line is really all I need right now. And then x is less than 9 means I have an open circle at 9, again referencing an open circle with less than or greater than. And now if I want everything less than 9, think of all the numbers that are less than 9. Is 0 less than 9? Is negative 9 less than 9? It sure is. So I would draw my arrow going to the left, and then I make an arrow like this. And occasionally you will see other people, sometimes this is what other people do. They have an open circle at 9, draw an upward arrow going to the left, and that will also work as well to represent less than 9. All right, let's look at the second example here. I have negative 3, is greater than or equal to m. I'm going to flip that around because I like to see the variable first and write m is less than or equal to negative 3. So make sure, think about that alligator's mouth for the inequality. What is that alligator eating here? It's eating the negative 3. So make sure when you rewrite that inequality that it eats the negative 3, so the opening goes towards the negative 3. And I will plot on my graph 0, negative 3, and 3. And I'll have a closed circle at negative 3 because it is or equal to, it's less than or equal to, and everything less than negative 3 would go to the left, right? Because 0 and 3 are positive, or more positive than negative 3. Okay, and the last one, I'm going to rewrite 5.7 is greater than k to say k is less than 5.7. Write in 0, 5.7, or I'll put 0 and 6, and negative 6, because I want to write integers. And then here I'll even reference a 5.7, and then I need an open circle at 5.7 because I just have a greater than symbol, and I'm going to shade to the left because it's less than 5.7. Okay, now we will look at solving a one-step inequality and graphing. So here, we want to solve the inequality like you would solve an equation. So let's isolate x here on number 1. I'm going to subtract 3 and get x is less than 1. And now I need to go ahead and graph this, just like I graphed on the last example of notes. So I'll write 0, -1, and 1. And I need to have an open circle at 1 because it's just less than, and shade to the left because I need everything that's less than 1. Now the second example, I have to combine like terms before I can start to solve this inequality. So I'm going to combine 4x and x to give me 5x. Minus 3 is less than or equal to 12. And now I'm going to solve by adding 3 to both sides, solve for x, and get 5x is less than or equal to 15. Divide by 5. So I get x, come right up here, x is less than or equal to 3. So when I graph this, 0, -3, and 3, I need to have a closed circle at 3 because it's or equal to, and everything that's less than, I need to shade, so to the left, draw my arrow, done with number 2. Moving on, the rule of the day for this segment of notes is that if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip the inequality symbol. So let's take a look here at number 1. I want to solve for x, so I'm going to isolate x here. And so -2 is being multiplied by x, so I need to do the opposite of that and divide by -2. And since I divided by a -2, I flip the inequality symbol, so it was greater than or equal to. Now it turns to less than or equal to. And my answer would be x is less than or equal to -9/2. And -9/2 is also known as -4.5. So here, not equal to, but x is less than or equal to -4.5. So on my graph, I'll write 0, -5, +5. Fill in here with -4.5. And then I need a closed circle because it's or equal to, shading to the left because it's less than or equal to. Okay, let's look at number 2. Again, I need to isolate my variable, so let's go ahead and look at what we need to do. So I have -3 is less than p over 4, so to isolate my variable, I need to undo a division of 4 by multiplying by 4. So I have -12 is less than p. Now, I did not multiply by a negative number, so I do not need to flip the inequality symbol. But I will right now rewrite this so that I can see my variable on the left-hand side. So I will have here p is greater than -12. And now I need to graph this, so I will plot on my graph 0, -12, and 12. And then I'm going to have an open circle at -12, and p is greater than -12, so I need to shade to the right. Okay, last one for this section. Number 3, 4 is greater than -x over 2. So I'm going to isolate x here, so it's dividing by 2, so I'm going to multiply by 2 on both sides. And I get 8 is greater than -x. So if I were to flip this around, I really have -x is less than 8. So just putting my variable on the left-hand side. Now I cannot have a negative variable here, so that's like a -1 times x. So to get rid of a -1 times x, I'm just going to divide by a negative. And when I do that, I flip the inequality symbol and get x is greater than -8. And I will graph this on my graph and plot 0, -8, and 8. I need everything greater than -8, so open circle at x, shading to the right. We are going to move on to solving multi-step inequalities. So the same rules apply as one step. We want to solve like an equation. Don't forget to flip the sign if we multiply or divide by a negative number. So same rules apply. Jot those down, and let's look at 3 examples. Let's look at this first one. I see -2 minus 3 is greater than or equal to 5. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides first and get -2x is greater than or equal to 8. divide by a -2, and since I divided by a negative, I flip the inequality. Get x is less than or equal to -4. Plot 0, -4, and 4. And now I'm going to have a closed circle at -4. Everything less than -4 needs to be shaded, so I'll shade to the left. Number 2 says 3x plus 2 is less than or equal to 10, so I'll subtract 2. Get 3x is less than or equal to 8. Divide by 3, so I get x is less than or equal to 8/3. And 8/3 can also be represented by 2 and 2/3 if I change that to a mixed number, because 3 goes into 8 2 times, which would be 6 with a remainder of 2. So I can graph this on my number line as 0, and I'll plot -3 and +3, and 2 and 2/3 would be almost at 3. And I have a closed circle because it's less than or equal to, and I need to shade everything to the left. Last one here, -2x plus 4 is less than or equal to 3, so I'll subtract 4 and get -2x is less than or equal to -1. Solve for x by isolating the variable and dividing by a -2. And since I divided by a negative, I need to flip the inequality sign. So x is greater than or equal to 1/2. Again, these two negatives here come together and give me a positive. So if I graph this, I'll graph 0, I'll graph -1 and 1, and then I'll even plot -1/2 and 1/2. Can plot more than 3 numbers if I really want to. And I need to have a closed circle at 1/2 because it's or equal to. Shade everything greater than 1/2, which means I shade to the right. Okay, and one word problem to look at, then we are done for notes. Ski rental costs $6 and each slope run costs $3. Write and solve an inequality to show how many slopes Kyle can run without spending more than $24. So let's look here. My inequality, I have ski rentals that cost $6. So I'm going to write in 6. Each slope run costs $3. Now we don't know how many slope runs Kyle will make, but we know it's going to be $3 times every slope run, plus an initial fee of $6 to rent skis, and that can be no more than $24, which is what Kyle can spend. So let's kind of step back and look at our inequality. $3 for every slope run, so 3 times x, plus an initial fee of $6 to even participate in the ski rental. And Kyle can spend no more than $24, so that has to be less than or equal to $24. Now let's solve this inequality and see how many slope runs Kyle can actually make. So 3x plus 6 is less than or equal to 24. Subtract 6. 3x is less than or equal to 18 divided by 3. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So Kyle can make 6 or less than 6 slope runs. Thank you for listening. This is the conclusion of notes. Please check Google Classroom for your assignment for the day. Good job!